Just as you pass, mine is just to comment because they say great minds discuss ideas, small minds discuss people. All this time he has been discussing people. No issue whatsoever.
No, I mean,
please allow him an opportunity to express it.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for your greatest support. Now, before I play you this video, I want to ask you a question, and this is the question that I want to ask. When will these leaders move from this topic of corruption every now and then? Every day they talk about corruption, oh, this is corrupt, this is corruption, this is corruption, but they don't give the solution. Because tell me why, every moment these people get platforms, they defend themselves. Senators defend themselves, members of parliament defend themselves, MCs defend themselves, governors defend. So everybody is defending him or herself on the issue of corruption, but we are not finding any solution. So in this video, I want you to listen to Caleb Amisi, MP Leto, and also Senator Eddy Oketch. They were on Citizen TV this morning, and they talked about a lot of these issues. So I want you to listen to them from the beginning up to the end, and then drop your comment in the comment section. Tell me what you think after listening to their conversation. What this?
But you see, Senator Oketch, one would expect that when it comes to political leadership, because you're all the same guys, because you come from the same political parties. In fact, both of you come from ODM. He comes from, what is your party again?
Kenya Union Party.
Which is just
KUP.
He's a friend of ODM.
But working with the UDA in Kenya Kwanza.
Yes, working with the UDA.
So let's just say you're from the same, perhaps, school of thought. But what do we do? Because again, leadership is expected to be collegial. That the executive may be wrong, like in the topic you're talking about in school funding, but you're in parliament so that there's checks and balances. Yet the country still struggles with all these leaders in place.
the culture that you've seen and that Caleb talked about, and my brother also talked about, is that there is a lot of greed in leadership and in parliament, and then there's a lot of self-seeking individuals. And I think that while I do appreciate Kenya Moja, because Caleb, actually there are people who are known. I think there are about 4 people who are the face of Kenya Moja, who are pretty much my friends. You know, it's not that they need any right of reply, but Caleb is there. We have got Wamushomba, we have got Honorable Babu, we have got Honorable Senator Sifuna, who are leading this movement. And I've sat and reflected as a young person.
General.
The Secretary General of ODM, which is very good, actually, that angle that you brought. I've sat and also reflected about these issues, because as a young person in this country also, I do align with the thought that we really need to create a space for transition, for succession politics, for leadership and all that. But I just doubt whether there is sincerity in the Kenya Moja. Why? I think I'm going to. It's not about doubting the individual. It's about doubting the purpose. Because I watched actually an interview the other day with 2 of that members of that movement. I follow your shows very, very closely. They are talking about something different from what Caleb is talking about. So that I start seeing different interests. Of course, it should be young people trying to fight for a voice and a place for themselves. Yep. But I'm seeing that they're just being dishonest, if I may say the word as I may say it strongly. The dishonesty here is this. I think that they have personal interests of surviving in politics. They're trying to create a space for themselves, but it's a personal interest for surviving in politics. And if I start with the 2 members who are...
Is it bad to survive in politics?
No, it's only wrong when you are trying to paint the face of the movement as people-driven purpose than your own individual purpose. Okay? And I have a problem with that. And I'll tell you the reason why, because even Caleb has just talked about it right here. Caleb has talked about creating a space for young people. The Constitution recognizes that apart from our ethnic diversity, which we are proud of, we are democratically organized within political parties. Caleb is a member of my political party. Honorable Babu Owino is a member of my political party. Sifuna is a member of my political party. What is wrong by building a stronger institution within the political party so that this change happens within the political party, ODM? Why must it happen outside the political party? I have a theory for it.
It is within.
No, it's outside. Actually, it's actually outside because they don't align with the most of the ideological leaning of the political party. And I think this is my theory. I think for Caleb, which is okay, I appreciate it. He wants to be able to create a space for himself within the Western leadership, which is okay. But he cannot lie that it's about young people. Then number two, for Babu and Sifuna, this is my read, and I might be wrong in this. I think they're suffering what we call the Sakaja effect.
What is that?
The Sakaja effect is, Sakaja is the governor of Nairobi.
Yeah.
Babu wants to vie for governor of Nairobi. Mm-hmm. And he has said it, I've not said it, he has said it a number of times. I doesn't believe that ODM will give him a ticket to run on in 2027. Therefore, this is his excuse for mischief to get out and find a way of vying without ODM. And I think that Sakaja effect is also affecting Sifuna. Because Sifuna, on this ethnic diversity, should, and I'm not saying that it will happen, I'm just saying should ODM choose to stay together with the UDA in a formation in 2027, it will be difficult for one ticket to give members of the same community or similar community a ticket in governor and a ticket in Senate. That will be Sakaja and Sifuna. And you believe so? Sifuna is also getting a mischief. Yeah, I think so. I think that's what it's portraying, because you see sometimes is.
You think?
Yeah, I think so.
You think you'd be sacrificed?
Because we are in the same party. We know each other.
Senator Oketch, you think Sifuna will be sacrificed?
I think it thinks he will be sacrificed. I think it thinks he will be sacrificed.
You think it thinks?
I think it thinks he will be sacrificed, which is why he's getting an excuse for mischief like Babu. That's why I call it the Sakaja effect on these two individuals. I've told you about my brother Caleb's also struggle, which is a different one, but it's a collision of convenience. Let me just finish. It's a collision of convenience, and therefore somebody like Wamshomba becomes a good bait to adhere these three people who are struggling with personal survival in politics and understand it, but eventually they will join A or B.
General you're talking about.
Yeah, but this is what is going on in the country. Everybody can see.
But on those arrangements, because every politician thinks about the next election, and unless you guys are different, but at least the few I've interacted with, they have that in mind. So what brings you together as Kenya Moja?
Yeah, what brings us together is the agenda that has not worked for this country. And that's why when you ask what is your agenda, you say the agenda is that simple, to remove the agenda that has not worked. And this is the agenda that has not worked. For many years, Sam, I think you've been here long enough to know our politics and understand that something must be done. Yeah. Whether you want to hide or not, but it is true that our politics, something must be done. We may not be true political dinosaurs like our older leaders, but at least for the little time we've spent in leadership in politics, we understand something needs to be done. Like one, since I was a little child, maybe 3 years old, there are names in this country that have never changed. For example, when I was in class 3, Salia Mudavadi was the Minister for Transport. Up to now, a member of Parliament. The guy is still a minister. Sam, you are actually believing that things must change. Something needs to be done in this country. You've seen even the American history. I mean, since maybe around 2000 or at around the same time, when we got independence in 1964, how many presidents has America had? So many. And you see, that's how new people come with new ideas. I've told my people, this is the last time I'm going to vie as a member of parliament. For 15 years, it will be enough for me. I'll either go for presidents or something else. I cannot keep on one position as if there are no other leaders to take over. I mean, in a country of 45 million Kenyans, you need to have also time for other people to also take over leadership. So that if there is something that you've not done right, so maybe somebody somewhere has a solution to that. And that's why it pains the young people to see that since we were born, there are the same names that you see. One side, Musalia Mudavadi is with Uhuru Kenyatta. The next election, Uhuru Kenyatta is with Ruto. The next election, Ruto is with Raila. The next election, Raila is with Kalonzo. They are the same people. Thinking when you are in one coalition, you think you are fighting for change against the other team. Now they also merge again the next election. They exchange roles, and you think you are now fighting. Now I'm telling people.
So how will you change that?
But you see that this is how the system has been. And this is how. Are you agreed with me first to start there? These are the same people. You see, you have no words to say because this is a reality. And you know, people don't want to face the reality. They want to hide that, you know, when you talk like this, you'll be making Baba mad. When you talk like this, we respect those people. What we are saying is that time has come for also a new generation, because if we do not allow young people into leaders in position of high authority, we are going to have a generational gap where we have it is only all the leaders who have experience in leadership, and there is a very big gap between the young generation and the old generation in terms of the experience you get as a leader. I've never served in cabinet. I need to serve in cabinet so that I know what does it mean to serve in cabinet. If a time comes that the people want Caleb to be a president, I love that experience. But if an old man will serve in cabinet for 40 years, where will I get the experience after he has gone? Because by natural attrition, he will go, whether you like it or not. So where will I get an experience to serve in a position somebody has occupied for 40 years? We are living a generational gap, and it is dangerous for a nation. We are hiding. That's why I said, can young people, including the two gentlemen who are beside me, these are young, relatively young people that needs to be part of Kenya Moja. They don't need to be bonded by this, the old status quo. They need to get out. But you know, when a father has molded
politicians you are describing as being there for too long, they were once your age. Mwai Kibaki served for a whole 50 years. He retired as president. I
do not want to serve for 50 years, Sam. That is something that we don't want. I said, even if the people of Saboti will want me to vie again, I'll tell them, no, thank you. Can somebody else also take over? That's how we are going to take a nation.
Will be your last.
I said this they have. In fact, they wanted to vie for governor. They have refused. I said, no, we don't want to let Caleb go. I said, but 15 years, please.
So I'm asking.
I'll say thank you.
2027 will be your last election.
Not my last election. I'll go for another position as a member of parliament. That will be the last election. But for another position,
if you don't win,
I'll go for another position. If I don't win, I'll go and do my work. I'll just go farming. There are other capable leaders who can lead. You don't need to stay in leadership for long.
Okay.
Yes, let's build the culture of responsibility as a leader that have been given 10 years or 15 years as a leader in this position can now allow somebody else, another Kenya, to also take over. Probably he has a good idea on capitation. Maybe he has a better idea on share. Maybe he has a better idea on transportation and electoral system.
So, apart from the verification challenges, let me begin with you, Senator Oketch, on what the experience is in Migori County, even before we dive into the other challenges when it comes to funding of education.
Thank you, Sam. I think the experience is pretty much similar across the country.
Yep.
And of course, you can dichotomize it into two. You know, those areas that are pretty much remote, like Kachiliba, we have some places like that in Migori. Nyatike constituency, for instance, is considered a hardship area. Even when you think about when teachers go to those places, the time of exposure of young kids when they're in school in those areas is similar almost to Kachiliba, as well as Kuria. East and Kuria West have faced this, similar challenges. And then we've got more the uptown and peri-urban areas that we have got in our constituencies. So the problems are pretty much the same. But I think that I wanted to approach it a little bit differently. I think this issue of capitation has got three issues that we must look at separately. Because when we mix them, then we lose the point. And then the responsibility keeps on shifting from one person to another. The first issue, which is what has dominated the conversation here and outside in the political space, is this issue of verification, which is basically the issue of, do we have proper records of the number of schools that are being eligible for this capitation and the number of students in those schools. Because you could have a proper record of schools, but not proper record of students in those schools. Maybe there's some inflation as people look at capitation. And I think that this is something that should not have taken this long, to be pretty much sincere, because the records for schools is pretty much straightforward. I think this will be a routine audit exercise, not even waiting for audit general reports, because we have got a number of institutions that are interacting with schooling that actually can be able to give you updated reports as it goes. In fact, it goes even to my colleague MPs who are here. Yes. Because when MPs are given something like CDF, where do they house it? They house it in schools in their areas. And actually the house is both in primary schools and secondary schools. What is so difficult about harmonizing the schools that they know best, that they are investing money in CDF in terms of construction and building, and even being able to track the number of students in those schools with the ministry. This should be an audit process that is pretty much routine to the extent some that perhaps it should even just happen in every holiday. It should not be interruptive to normal schooling of kids. It should be done in every holiday, and then by the time kids are going to school, that harmonization has been done. That doesn't wait for the Auditor General. So this is a problem that should not drag too long and become an excuse for mischief. Number two, there is an issue around allocation. Vis-a-vis number three, disbursement. These are issues that also we must be able to confront, because we have seen a number of times the allocation of what my brother here was talking about, per capita allocation, right from primary school to junior secondary school to the main secondary schools. We've seen the capitation not matching the population growth that we are having in the country. Even at a place where that audit will be correctly done, the capitation is just not matching up. And this is something that I've talked about on this study about costing education in our country, right, as a function. Can we be able to cost education in primary school? Can we be able to cost education in junior secondary school and cost education in secondary school, so that we can be able to match it with the data that we have already been given about census that we have in population prediction? Because if you've got, for instance, Sam, that 2024, you have allocated funds and you have put a capitation on students in primary school at 1,500. And then in 2025, it reduces to 1,400. How does that data work? If you've got junior secondary schools, you have put capitation at 15,000 in 2024, and now it is about 13,000. It is reducing. If you look at the secondary school, capitation was at around 22,000. When these schools started getting money. Right now it's 16,000. So it's not growing, yet the population is growing and the education is getting more expensive.
Yet that underfunding is inconsistent with the policy.
Yes.
So what do we do? Because the Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury, he was here like 2 weeks ago, about 10 days ago, and he was saying that the challenge is that we don't have sufficient resources to finance each and every requirement. And he was saying that if you had to look at the number of learners that the system provides, that is NEMIS, versus the resources being made available, you cannot finance up to 22,000. And that is why he was laying it as a basis why the verification needs to be done, so that you can tell, do you have 10 students as indicated in the system, or 7, or less, or more?
And that's why I want to separate all those issues. Because verification must be done, and I said routinely so that there's no any kind of fraud in these schools where somebody might be thinking that the money that's coming in they're supposed to take in. But the reality of funding our education with the population growth that is going on is a different question that actually must be able to be done in an appropriate way. And one of the biggest things that the ministry has faced a lot of challenges with is just proper disbursement, even where allocation has been done and verification has been done as well. You know, for instance, if you look at term 1, despite the fact that the ministry had over 48 billion, in term 1, if you look at the way secondary schools were funded, 50% was given to schools. Yeah, at least in Migori County, this is true. In term 2, only 30% was given without meeting the term 1 debt that was there. In term 3, right now, only 20% has been given, even to the verified schools.
I thought that is the disbursement formula. So in first term, you give 50, in second term, you give 30, in third term, you give 20. In the end, you have 100%.
You're supposed to be given like that, but I'm saying they are not met. So the debt that was there in first term, out of the 50%, you find that only about 30 to 40% have gone. Some schools have received, and in some schools they go without actually getting the entire amount. So that the staggering that is there, they don't have getting up the entire amount that is there, so that the debt even to schools is accumulating and is not catching up with the population. So the entire funding equation is something that we must be able to look at to the extent that it matches the population that is there. And this also again goes to the policy around, do we want as a country to prioritize education to the extent that if we are going to have more children getting into schools, should we defray some expenses in some areas and add it to education if it's a priority to us?
Is it possible? Because education is now taking 702 billion.
I think it's possible if it's something that we want to invest in. But I think that the other biggest problem is this, Sam. You invest in proper schooling of our children, and then when they get out of the school, this is an investment. Education is an investment. They don't get a commensurate kind of employment and jobs that then will feed back to the system. So this becomes a problem because you've got a big influx of people coming out of schools, then they're coming out of schools without jobs, and then they don't end up contributing to the GDP as you would want them to contribute once they get out of jobs. So it's a complete value chain, and I think that it is important that we integrate the entire vertical, right from education to the job market. We don't need to do it just as one single segment.
Okay. Mheshimiwa Amisi, what has been the experience of your constituents in their schools with these challenges with capitation and the verification?
Yeah, Sam, we can talk the whole day around this issue of capitation, but the bottom line is that institutionalism goes with leadership. Capitation is a word that emanated out of the Millennium Development Goals, that every child should be get affordable education to each and every child. And this was supposed to be implemented across nations that sat in, I think, Dakar, Senegal, to agree on the Millennium Development Goals. And the word capitation itself, it means every head, caput. That is a Latin word, caput, from the word caput, every head. It has to go to every child. Now, everything that goes wrong points to leadership. Whether it is education, whether it is SHA, whether it is transport sector, everything boils around leadership. And we can talk, I don't like people just talking now what is the problem of this capitation, if missed and all that. There are two things involved, Sam. One, that is there intentional, is the government intentional on offering affordable or free education? If it is, then the system must work. That's where we start. The system must work. For a child to miss out, for whatever reasons, whether it is lack of ID or whether the principles messed up, no, that is not supposed to be the tenets of that Millennium Development Goal. For free primary education and secondary education, elementary, for that matter. Secondly is a culture. Our cultural orientation. Sometimes they say we borrowed system that could not fit our culture. That why will a principal, once there is delay in capitation from the treasury being sent to schools, then they devise ways of conniving, ways of moving around the systems to ensure that they're also making money out of it. Once the money comes to the schools and the principals have already sent out students to their parents to get the money, when the parents pay the school fees, what happened to that money that comes from treasury afterwards? This is just a system that is broken, that every Kenyan look for a loophole to make something. And that points to our culture. And if we do not change all those two things, that we must look our institutionalism and we must also work on our culture. How a principal or a teacher will, if even you say that these students are lacking IDs, is that the problem of a student? That is supposed to be the work of the government, to make sure that every child born in this country, within the borders of Kenya, must have. Is it that they were provided and they lost? This is just a breakdown of systems completely. Whatever you say, whatever you call, it is a breakdown of systems. Whatever design of ambitious a program is, if it meets a broken system, if it meets improper leadership, if it means this culture of Kenyan where they have to make money on everything that goes wrong, where loopholes, there is something that they create a loophole exists, every person must find a way of making something from the top to the bottom. It's a culture. It's not even about the president or what. It is a culture total up to the local level. And unless this whole infrastructure, the whole system is relooked at, and the Kenyans sit down and say, does our culture really fit in the developmental status and all the programs that come with it?
Yes, you want
just a correction, and I'll give an example of Saboti, where I know best. When I took over as a member of parliament and found CDF in existence, of course, most people think that this money goes to MPs' accounts directly and they start distributing. That is, of course, a wrong misnomer there. What I looked at my constituency in terms of the polling stations, and I discovered that initially people used to come to town to look where is the CDF office, we want to get bursary. And I said, now, how can an old woman who is just left there and a grandmother with a child there be able to come all the way, the distance to Kitale looking for CDF? So I said, let me share a structure with the committee, because CDF has a committee. And I said a structure whereby in every polling station, of course, polling station mostly is addressing a certain village and a school. And the people are going in every polling station. I looked at 52 polling stations of Saboti, and the application is done there at the polling station. In fact, this data they are looking for, I personally have it for my constituents. I can just give to the Ministry of I can just give it to the Ministry of Education in case of my constituents, because I have the data. Everybody who needs school fees in Saboti, I have the data with me. And of course, now we use that data to see what is available, what can we give them, who is in secondary, who is in tertiary, who is in TVET, who is in university. Are able to allocate, and it is a mere 150 million, which only 40% can only go for bursary. But it's very efficient. Right now, if you go to anywhere in Saboti and ask, nani amepata bursary ya president, nothing. Bursary a governor, nothing. Bursary MCA, nothing. Senator, nothing. They'll only see bursary for MP.
Bursaries. Senators don't have bursaries.
They have a lot of money for oversight and all that. They can tailor it to be a bursary, but they choose to misuse it.
Sorry, Senator. There's a problem in what you're saying, because you should actually have no active role in management.
It's not active. It is you are a member of parliament. You are elected to make sure things go on well. So you just advise the committee that this is how I think, as a patron of the CDF, this should be adopted. You are a patron.
The law does not give you that role.
No, the role gives a member of parliament as a patron of CDF.
Where?
Patron does not mean you are involved in the committee.
Which section allows you to be a patron?
I'll give you, but you are a patron.
It's not there.
The MP is a patron.
You have no role.
Patron does not mean, what is a patron to you? What does it mean?
You told me you're the patron.
No, but you're arguing against something you don't know.
No,
if you don't know, you do not argue.
I am telling you, the law as it is
does
not have a place for an MP as a patron of whatever fund.
Well, the law initially, do you know, even before when the CDF started, initially, even the MP was part of the committee. But later on, the MPs thought that this is something that will also give an MP too much responsibilities in terms of now people wanting to get direct money from members of parliament because you are a signatory, you are a account holder. But the MPs, one, they are not account holders. Number two, they are not in the CDF committee. All you do as a member of parliament, because that is a fund that has come to the constituency level, and you are the person who represents the constituency to the national government. So you are given the patronage role, so that you oversee. Oversight, what does the oversight means? You oversight.
Role, okay, what is that?
What is to patron? Is to oversight. So the fund is done. The fund is being managed well. The committees are there. If anything happens to the CDF in your constituents, anything happens, who are the people to ask? The members of the public will ask who? Will they come and ask some Gituku? No. Will they come and ask the senator? No. They'll ask the member of parliament. Because they know you are the one representing that constituency.
I understand.
Yes.
But the question I'm asking, under what law?
Do you need a law to really represent your people?
But I thought you're a country of the constitution and laws.
Yes, but you see, when you are a member of parliament and things are going wrong in your constituents, or you have a better way, or an advice or a suggestions to whoever, whether it is a committee, whether it is the ministry, or you have a role as a member of parliament to say, this is how I think things should go. And the people adopt your proposals and they take over. Why are you a member of parliament when you cannot represent your people?
Therefore, the courts are right to say that indeed this is an unconstitutional law.
The court, if the courts are right, it is okay. It is not the member of parliament you are punishing. You are punishing the people who receive the fund. Members of parliament do not receive the fund. It is the people who receive the fund. I have never benefited out of CDF. So, the thing is that you think that these are money for the members of parliament. Therefore, they are being punished when it gets out. No, you are punishing a very poor student who receives the money. There is no capitation, but at least he gets that money on CDF. And the CDF has nothing to do with the member of parliament. If that member of parliament leaves, the CDF continues. And it will have a committee, and the committee can change.
All right.
I think it's difficult to accept this because the thing is, before you have a school that is registered by the ministry, do people just walk into the ministry and then give a name of the school, a school? Like I'm Sam Gituku, I have a school in my village. Take it in and let it be part of this. I don't think so. I think that unless because I know he sits in public accounts committee and I also sit in public investment committee in the Senate. Are we talking about a forensic audit? Because where the Auditor General has questioned that there is some fraud, this is an issue of fraud that exists. We must then go back and just simply look at what is the system of identifying these schools. Where I think there can be a serious problem is the inflation of number of students in a school. Because that's a process that happens more rapidly and more irregularly, depending on which school is getting which students. That's a more irregular pattern. But the pattern of establishing schools in this country, Sam, is so predictable to the extent that if it was an election question, the same government will tell you that we have got X number of polling stations based on this X number of schools. So the data on schooling...
But I said that will be done by IBC. Maybe IBC is more efficient than the government.
And that's why I said there is lack of harmonization of institutions, actually including parliament. Because this is the only country that I know that parliament is actually also involved in the development facet of schools, right? Where CDF is given to the members of parliament to actually distribute in schools, both in terms of infrastructure development.
I think that's something that needs to be corrected.
Let me just finish.
Let me just finish.
Yeah.
And I know where he's going with this. Where he's going with this is that the MPs don't control it. No. There's a committee that does all that. But they have got a very serious biased eye view position on how CDF is managed. Yep. To the extent, Sam, that CDF gives money on fees, which they call bursary, and also on infrastructure. Do they also have their own audit mechanism to the extent that they can be able to know that this school has got these students? Or do they also just do it haphazardly? I don't think so. I think that unless you want to put this issue as an excuse for disbursement and allocation, which the government is struggling with, which I understand, right? Then we can talk about it. Otherwise, then you need a proper forensic audit if it is an untenable issue of fraud and corruption that the Auditor General has caught in his audit report. Because there is process by which a school gets administered into the ministry. Okay. That process is the first level, or rather the primary level of verification. Okay. Because there's no school that will exist in the ministry's data without that process that has been established by the ministry.